By the time you finish this, you won't see your child's meltdowns as a bad problem to be fixed, but as a secret message that they need help. You will learn to spot the tiny warning signs that happen before the screaming starts, and you'll finally understand why yelling or trying to reason with them when they are upset has only been making things worse. You are going to change from a parent who feels stressed and out of control into a calm anchor, the strongest, steadiest person in the room. You will stop getting swept up in their giant feelings and start being the one who helps them find their own way back to being happy. There are two ways parents handle this. Most people think when a child screams, they are just being mean or trying to break the rules, so they try to stop it with strict punishments. These parents stay stuck in a loop of yelling and fighting. But there is a second way. It's for parents who understand that when a child acts like a tiny hurricane, they aren't trying to be difficult. They are having a difficult time. They are just kids who haven't learned how to handle their big feelings yet. Here is the secret that most people don't know. The more you yell to try and get control, the more your child feels like the world is unsafe, which makes them act out even more. True power isn't about being the boss or being the loudest. It's about being the one person who stays cool when everyone else is losing their minds. Why is it that your child can be so sweet and well-behaved at school, but the moment they get home, they fall apart over something as small as the color of a bowl? What is really happening inside their brain when they lose it? And why is the best way to help them actually just taking one deep breath? If you don't learn these secrets, you'll keep having the same arguments over and over, and your child will never learn how to manage their anger on their own. But if you learn how to look under the surface, you can stop the meltdowns before they get big. You'll learn how to say no to their demands while still showing them that you love them and that you are on their team. Once you know these things, you can't unknow them. You will start to see the clues that a tantrum is coming before it happens. Some of the things you used to do won't feel right anymore because you'll realize there is a better, kinder way. If you just want a quick trick to make your child be quiet, this isn't for you. This is for parents who are brave enough to look at their own feelings and learn how to change how they react. By the end of this, you'll never walk into a chaotic moment the same way again. You will stop reacting to the noise and start listening to what your child really needs. And once you do, you'll realize the storm didn't stop because you fought it. It stopped because you were the steady ground they could finally land on. Natural transition into the book. This journey comes from the anchor parent, navigating the storm of your child's emotions, a guide to the hidden reasons why our kids lose their cool and how we can become the calm, steady leaders they need. Let's begin. Everything starts here. The first principle changes everything. Think about the last time your child completely lost their cool. Maybe it was a Tuesday evening, right in the middle of trying to get dinner on the table. Or perhaps it was Saturday morning, over something as small as the wrong colored bowl or a toy that wouldn't stay balanced. You're standing there, and suddenly the room feels like it's vibrating. There's screaming, maybe there's throwing, or perhaps it's that chilling, dead silent defiance where you feel like you're talking to a brick wall. In that moment, your own heart rate spikes. Your jaw tightens. Your brain, which knows all the rational, good parent advice, suddenly goes offline, replaced by a surge of frustration, or worse, a feeling of total, helpless defeat. You aren't alone. Every parent has been there. But here is the secret that nobody tells you in the parenting books. That explosive moment. It isn't a sign that you failed. It isn't necessarily a sign that your child is bad. It is simply a sign that the current tools being used to handle the world aren't working for them anymore. When your child explodes, they aren't trying to make your life difficult. They are having a difficult time. In this audiobook, we are going to walk through how to bridge that gap. We're going to look at why that rage happens, why your own nervous system reacts the way it does, and how you can become the steady anchor your child needs when the storm hits. You don't have to be perfect. You just need to be present, and you need a better roadmap. What we see vs. what is actually happening. When a child screams or lashes out, most parents see disrespect. We see a challenge to our authority. We see a child who needs to be corrected, stopped, or disciplined immediately. That is the adult perspective, and it is a perfectly natural one to have. We want a peaceful home. We want cooperation. But what if you looked at that same explosion through a different lens? What if, instead of seeing a problem to be fixed, you saw a system in distress? Imagine your child's brain is like a computer. When they are calm, the part of their brain responsible for logic, problem-solving, and self-control, the prefrontal cortex, is running the show. They can hear your requests. They can negotiate. They can even regulate their own disappointment. But when a child is overwhelmed, whether by hunger, exhaustion, a transition they weren't ready for, or a genuine sense of unfairness, that logical part of the brain effectively shuts down. The alarm system, the amygdala, takes over. This is the fight or flight center. When your child is in that state, they aren't choosing to be difficult. They are literally, biologically incapable of being reasonable. If you try to lecture them, reason with them, or demand respect while their alarm system is blaring, it's like trying to teach a drowning person how to swim. They aren't ignoring you. They are overwhelmed by a flood of neurochemicals that make it impossible to process what you're saying. The mirror effect. Here is the part that is easy to miss. Because we are humans, when we see someone losing control, we feel the urge to match that energy. It's an evolutionary survival mechanism. If someone is shouting, our bodies want to shout back to defend ourselves or to regain order. Have you ever noticed that the more you raise your voice to get control, the more your child's behavior spirals? It's the mirror effect. If you come at a fire with more fuel, the fire grows. When you get angry in response to their anger, you are confirming their internal narrative. The world is unsafe, and the people who are supposed to protect me are as out of control as I am. I know this is hard to hear. When you are being pushed to your limit, the last thing you want to hear is that you need to be the calm one. It feels like you're being asked to be a saint while your child is acting like a tiny, hurricane-force tyrant. But this isn't about being a saint. It's about being a strategist. The calmest person in the room has the most power. When you hold your ground, not by being rigid, but by being steady, you provide a container for their chaos. You are the emotional thermostat. If you stay cool, eventually, they will have to adjust to your temperature. It doesn't happen instantly, but it is the only way to actually change the wiring of the interaction. The myth of the bad behavior. We spend so much time worrying about the behavior, the hitting, the yelling, the stomping, that we miss the need. Think of anger as an iceberg. The explosive outburst you see at the top of the water is just the small part. Underneath, hidden below the surface, are the real drivers: hurt, fear, feeling misunderstood, a lack of power, or simply an inability to cope with a transition. When a child yells, "I hate you," they usually don't mean, "I wish you didn't exist." They mean, "I am feeling so much pain right now, and I don't know how to handle it, so I am throwing it at the person I trust the most." That sounds backwards, doesn't it? But children are most explosive with the people they feel safest with. They hold it together at school, with teachers, and with friends because they are terrified of those reactions. They save the big feelings for home because home is the only place where they are certain that even if they are at their worst, they will still be loved. Your child's anger is a symptom of an unmet need. If you can move from asking, "How do I stop this?" to "What is my child trying to tell me that they don't have the words for?" you will find that the battles start to change shape. You aren't trying to suppress their anger. You are trying to help them navigate it, because one day they won't be children. They will be teenagers and then adults. If they haven't learned how to channel that fire, it will burn down their relationships. We are building the skills now in these small, difficult moments so they don't have to struggle with them forever. The first step, your own pause. If you take only one thing away from this first part, let it be the power of the pause. The next time you see that spark of anger in your child, before you do anything, take a breath. A literal, deep, slow breath. Notice the tension in your own shoulders. Loosen your jaw. You are teaching your child something profoundly important in that silence. You are showing them that it is possible to experience a strong emotion without being consumed by it. You are modeling regulation. This isn't about ignoring the behavior. It's about taking a moment to gain your own composure so that when you do step in, you are moving from a place of wisdom, not reaction. You are the expert on your child. You know their triggers. You know their rhythm. But you are also a person, and your reaction matters just as much as theirs. As we move forward, we are going to look at the specific blueprints for navigating these explosions. We'll talk about how to intervene without escalating, how to set boundaries that actually stick, and how to repair the relationship when things go wrong, because they will go wrong. And that's okay, because every wrong moment is actually the perfect place to start building something better. We've set the foundation. Now, let's look at how we can start to decode the triggers that lead to those explosive moments in your home. The anatomy of a trigger. Now that we have established that your calm is your greatest tool, let's look at why these explosions happen in the first place. If you are constantly finding yourself in the middle of a battle, it is likely because you are reacting to the outburst, while the trigger, the spark that started the fire, has already been buried under the noise. Most parents believe that a child's anger comes out of nowhere. One minute you are happily playing or finishing a meal, and the next, your child is screaming because you cut their toast into triangles instead of squares. It feels irrational. It feels personal. But there is rarely an out of nowhere in child psychology. Everything has a lead-up. If you start to look for the patterns, you will find that these explosive moments usually stem from a few predictable categories. The 4 fuel sources. Think of these as the primary fuel sources for an outburst. First, there is the physiological foundation. Is your child hungry, tired, or overstimulated? Many of the difficult behaviors we see are simply biological distress signals. An overtired child is like a car with a broken braking system. If you try to reason with them, it is a losing battle. Second, consider transition pain. Moving from one activity to another is incredibly difficult for children. If they are deeply engaged in something, building a tower or playing a game, being told it's time to stop feels like a physical assault on their focus. To them, the transition isn't just a change in schedule. It's an abrupt end to something they value. Third, look at the need for autonomy. As children grow, they are constantly trying to carve out a sense of me in the world. When they feel their power is being taken away by a rule, a chore, or an instruction, they will often push back with everything they have. It is their way of saying, I am a person, and I have a say in my own life. Finally, there is emotional overload. Sometimes, the anger isn't even about the current situation. It's a carryover. Maybe they had a hard day at school, or they felt left out on the playground, or they were embarrassed. That frustration has been sitting in their stomach all day, looking for a way out. When the triangles instead of squares moment happens, it isn't about the toast. It is the final straw that breaks the dam. Detecting the pre-storm signals. If you wait until your child is full-on screaming to intervene, you have already missed the window of influence. You want to become a detective of the pre-storm. Watch for the subtle cues. Is their voice getting a little higher or faster? Are they starting to fidget, stomp, or clench their fists? Do they get quiet and rigid? These are the early warning signs of the amygdala hijack. If you see these signs, you have a small window to change the course. You don't necessarily need to solve the problem yet. Instead, change the environment. Offer a distraction. Validate the frustration before it turns into rage. You might say something like, "I can see you're really frustrated about having to put the toys away. It's hard to stop when you're having so much fun." See the difference? You aren't agreeing that they shouldn't stop. You aren't caving in. You are simply acknowledging their reality. When a child feels heard, their nervous system often breathes a sigh of relief. You are essentially telling their alarm system, "I see the threat you feel, and I am not another threat. I am an ally." The dangerous trap of giving in versus giving up. Many parents fear that if they show empathy during an outburst, they are rewarding the bad behavior. They worry that if they acknowledge the child's anger, the child will keep using anger to get what they want. But there is a massive difference between empathizing with an emotion and capitulating to a demand. You can hold the boundary while still holding the child's hand. Imagine your child is screaming for a cookie before dinner. If you yell, "No, stop that," you create a power struggle. If you give them the cookie to shut them up, you teach them that screaming works. But what if you did this? You stay calm, you get down on their level and you say, "I know you really want that cookie. It's hard to wait for dinner when you're hungry. I'm not giving you the cookie right now, but I hear how much you want it. Let's look at the clock together. How many more minutes until we eat?" In this scenario, you haven't given in. The rule, "no cookies before dinner," remains intact, but you have validated their internal experience. You have helped them navigate the disappointment. Over time, this is what builds emotional resilience. They learn that they can have big feelings and still exist in a world where things don't always go their way. Why logic fails and what works instead. When the emotional storm is at its peak, your words should be minimal. Think of this as the less is more rule. When your child is in the midst of an explosion, they cannot process complex sentences. They cannot understand a lecture about respect or patience. Save the teaching for when they are calm. In the moment of the storm, your job is safety and connection. Use short, grounding phrases. "I am right here. You are safe. It's okay to be upset." If they are physically aggressive, your role is to keep everyone safe. You might need to gently move them to a different room or hold them firmly but kindly if they are hitting. But do it without anger. Do it with the steady, unshakable presence of a mountain. The goal here isn't to force them to stop being angry. The goal is to walk through the fire with them until they reach the other side. Remember, you aren't just managing a child. You are training a brain. You are teaching them through your own actions that they are capable of experiencing intense emotions and surviving them. And that, more than any lesson on etiquette or obedience, is the foundation for a healthy, happy life. As we move into the next part, we will explore the specific language of repairs. What to do after the explosion has finally subsided, and how to use those moments to actually bring you and your child closer than you were before. The art of the repair. We have talked about staying calm when the storm hits and about recognizing the hidden triggers before the explosion begins. But let's be honest, you are a human being, not a machine. Even with the best intentions, there will be times when you lose your cool. There will be times when you shout back, when you lose your patience, or when you say something that you immediately wish you could take back. Many parents carry a heavy weight of shame after these moments. We tell ourselves, I ruined it, I'm doing this wrong, I've damaged my child. But here is a perspective that might change everything. Your child doesn't need a perfect parent. A perfect parent would actually be quite confusing for a child because it wouldn't teach them how to navigate the inevitable imperfections of life. What your child needs is a repairing parent. The repair is the most important part of the entire parenting process. It is the moment where you show your child how to own mistakes, how to apologize, and how to reconnect after a rupture. Why repairs build trust. When you lose your temper and then apologize, you aren't showing weakness. You are demonstrating incredible strength. You are teaching your child that even the authority figures in their lives are capable of making mistakes, and more importantly, that we have the power to fix them. If you never apologize, your child learns that being right is more important than being connected. But if you do apologize, you model vulnerability and integrity. You show them that relationships are more important than ego. So, what does a real repair look like? First, it needs to be simple. Don't over-explain or make excuses for why you lost your temper. Avoid saying, I'm sorry I yelled, but you were being so difficult. That isn't an apology. That is a justification, and it puts the blame right back on the child. Instead, keep it clean and direct. I lost my cool earlier. I didn't like how I raised my voice, and I'm sorry. I was feeling overwhelmed, but that wasn't your fault. I want to try again. That's it. That is a powerful, transformative statement. When you say this, you are doing three things. You are taking ownership of your own emotions. You are showing your child that they don't have to carry your stress. You are inviting them back into a safe, connected space, moving beyond the sorry. Sometimes the repair requires more than just words. After an explosion, both of you might feel raw. The connection has been stretched thin. This is the perfect time for what we call low-pressure connection. Don't demand that your child talk about the incident immediately. Don't force them to tell me why you were acting like that. Instead, just be near them. Read a book, do a puzzle, or just sit in the same room. Do something that requires no emotional heavy lifting. This signals to your child, we are still okay. The relationship is still intact. The storm has passed, and we are on the same team again. Children often have a hard time initiating this themselves. They might feel just as much shame or fear about their own behavior as you do. When you make the first move to reconnect, you are lowering the barrier for them. You are saying, I am the adult, and I will always lead us back to peace. The do-over technique. One of the most practical tools you can use in your home is the do-over. This can be used for both you and your child. If you feel the tension rising and you feel yourself starting to snap, stop and say, that didn't come out right. Can I have a do-over? Then say it again in a calmer tone. Encourage your child to do the same. If they say something rude or aggressive, you can gently say, whoa, that was a pretty big way to express your frustration. I'm going to give you a do-over. Tell me again, but this time use a voice that helps me hear you. This doesn't mean they aren't still held accountable if their behavior was unacceptable. It just means you are coaching them on how to interact with the world effectively. You are teaching them that they have the agency to change their own behavior. Teaching big communication. While you are in the repair phase, once the dust has settled and everyone is calm, this is the window to teach. This is when the prefrontal cortex is back online and your child can actually learn. Ask questions that aren't interrogations. Instead of, "Why did you do that?" Try, "What was happening in your body right before you got so mad?" Help them identify the physical sensations of anger. Did your hands get hot? Did your tummy feel tight? Did your heart start racing? When they can identify these physical signs, they are one step closer to catching the anger before it becomes an explosion. You are helping them develop an internal alarm system. Next time, you might say, "When you feel your hands get hot, can you come find me? Or can you go take 3 big breaths? We can figure out a way to handle that feeling without throwing the blocks." This is how you turn a moment of conflict into a masterclass in emotional intelligence. You are building their toolkit, one repair at a time. As we move into the next section, we'll look at how to handle the most difficult behavioral challenges, the ones that happen in public, at school, or during those high-stakes moments where the eyes of the world feel like they are on you. We will talk about how to keep your confidence when the pressure is at its peak. Navigating high-pressure moments. We've talked about the calm of the home, the anatomy of a trigger, and the vital importance of the repair. But let's address the elephant in the room, the public, high-stakes moment. Whether you're in the middle of a grocery store aisle, at a family gathering, or standing in front of your child's teacher, those moments when the eyes of the world are on you feel different. The intensity is amplified. You aren't just managing your child's emotions. You are suddenly managing your own sense of reputation, your anxiety about being judged, and the pressure to get control immediately. In these moments, the most important thing you can do is remind yourself of one simple truth. You are not a performer. You are a parent. Your child's public outburst is not a grade on your parenting report card. It is simply a child having a hard time in a public space. The external gaze trap. When we feel watched, we often react in ways that contradict everything we've just discussed. We might suddenly get sterner, louder, or more restrictive because we are embarrassed. We want to show the world, "I have this under control." But the more we lean into that performance, the further we drift from our child. Your child feels that shift. They feel your tension, and because they are already struggling, that added pressure often acts as gasoline on the fire. The next time you are in public and an explosion begins, take a deep breath and deliberately turn your focus inward toward your child. Forget the other shoppers. Forget the judgmental aunt or the neighbor. They are not the ones who need to be nurtured in this moment. Your child is. Get low, make eye contact. Use your calm, steady voice. If people are staring, let them stare. It is infinitely more powerful to be the parent who stays connected and compassionate in the face of an outburst than to be the parent who is worried about what strangers think. You are modeling strength, not weakness. Handling the public boundary. Sometimes you need to set a boundary quickly. Maybe you are in a library or a movie theater. The strategy remains the same, but the pacing changes. I can see you are really upset, and we need to be quiet in this building. Let's go outside for a minute so you can get the rest of your feelings out. You aren't punishing them by taking them outside. You are creating a safe space for their regulation. You are removing the stimuli that are overwhelming them and providing them with a way to finish their emotional process without disrupting the environment. This is proactive, not reactive. It shows your child that you are aware of their needs and the needs of the setting. It is the gold standard of effective, boundary-respecting parenting. The role of the script. In the heat of the moment, your brain often freezes. You know what you should do, but the words escape you. This is why having a script is so useful. Keep a few reliable phrases in your back pocket. Practice them when you're driving or doing the dishes so that when the pressure hits, they come out automatically. I see you're struggling, and I'm here with you. We're going to take a break until we can find our calm. It's okay to be mad, but it's not okay to hurt people things. Let's take a breath together. When you have these phrases ready, you stop the internal scramble for words. You don't have to think, you just have to act. This saves precious mental energy and keeps you focused on your child's regulation. Avoiding the bribe and the threat. In public, the temptation to use quick fixes, bribes or threats, is overwhelming. If you stop crying, I'll buy you that candy. Or if you don't stop right now, we are never coming here again. These are the enemy of long-term emotional intelligence. A bribe teaches your child that they should only be calm if they get a reward. A threat teaches them that the world is a dangerous place where they must suppress their feelings to stay safe. Neither teaches them how to manage their anger. Instead, stay the course. I know this is really hard. I'm going to stay right here with you while you finish your big feelings. It takes longer. Yes, it might be uncomfortable, but you are investing in the long-term character of your child. You are teaching them that they have a support system that doesn't fold under pressure. That is a gift that will pay dividends for their entire life. When things reach the breaking point. Sometimes, no matter what you do, the situation is simply unsustainable. Maybe you're exhausted, your child is beyond reach, and you're in a place where you simply cannot stay. In those moments, prioritize your family's exit. It isn't a failure to leave the store, leave the party, or cut the day short. It is a sign of a parent who knows their child's limits. We're going to head home now. We can try again another day. This is a powerful lesson in respect. It tells your child, I know you're overwhelmed, and I'm going to help you get to a place where you can find your balance again. You are building a relationship based on mutual trust. As we move into our final part, we will discuss how to move forward, how to establish a culture of emotional health in your home that makes these explosive moments rarer and easier to navigate when they do occur. We will focus on the long-term vision of a family that communicates with love, even when things are difficult. Building a culture of calm. We have arrived at the final step of our journey. Over these past sections, we have looked at why the explosions happen, how to stay steady in the face of them, how to repair when we fall short, and how to maintain our composure in the highest pressure environments. But parenting isn't just about the moments of crisis. It's about the environment we build every single day. If you want a home where anger is managed rather than unleashed, you have to build a culture of calm. This doesn't mean your home will be silent. It doesn't mean your children will never be angry. It means you will have created a foundation where feelings are acknowledged, boundaries are clear, and connection is the default state of your family. Creating the emotional vocabulary. Most children lash out because they lack the words to describe what is happening inside. We can change this by making feelings a standard part of our daily language. Don't wait for a tantrum to talk about emotions. Talk about them when things are good. I felt a little frustrated when the car wouldn't start this morning. I had to take a few deep breaths to get ready for the day. You look so excited about building that tower. Your face is glowing. When you model the act of naming feelings, you give your child a map. They stop seeing anger as a giant, scary monster and start seeing it as just another feeling, like sadness, excitement, or boredom that passes in time. When they can name it, they can tame it. The power of rituals and routines. Anxiety is often a major driver of anger, and nothing calms the brain like predictability. Think about your daily routines. Is the morning a chaotic scramble? Is bedtime a battle for control? If so, look for ways to simplify and slow down. When children know what to expect, they feel safe. When they feel safe, their alarm system is less likely to go off. Create simple, consistent rituals. Maybe it's a specific song you play during cleanup time, a reading corner where you go to decompress after school, or a family dinner where everyone shares one high and one low from their day. These aren't just habits, they are anchors. They provide a predictable structure that makes the world feel manageable. Modeling the life you want them to lead. Your children are watching you more than they are listening to you. If you want them to be able to handle their anger, they have to see you handle yours. Are you hard on yourself when you make a mistake? Do you get road rage? Do you express your stress by withdrawing from your family? Your children are internalizing these responses. If you want to change your child, you must be the first one to change. This is the hardest part of parenting, but it is also the most rewarding. Every time you consciously choose to stay calm when you feel like yelling, you are handing your child a blueprint for their own life. You are literally shaping their brain to be more patient, more empathetic, and more resilient. Moving from correction to connection. As we close, I want you to remember the fundamental shift we talked about at the very beginning. If you view your child as a problem to be solved, you will always be in conflict. But if you view your child as a person to be understood, you will always be in a relationship. The goal isn't a child who never gets angry. The goal is a child who knows that when they are angry, they are still loved. A child who knows that their feelings are valid, but their actions have limits. A child who knows that they have a safe harbor in you, regardless of how big or messy their emotions become. You are doing the hard work. You are the one choosing to break the cycles of frustration that may have been passed down through generations. You are the one choosing to be the steady anchor in their storm. That is not easy. It takes courage, patience, and constant effort. Be kind to yourself as you continue this journey. There will be days where you feel like you've mastered it, and days where you feel like you're back at square one. That is not failure, that is the process. Your child doesn't need you to be perfect. They need you to be present. They need you to be the one who stays, the one who listens, and the one who keeps showing up day after day with an open heart and a steady hand. You are building more than just good behavior. You are building a connection that will last a lifetime. You are teaching your child that they are capable, that they are seen, and that they are loved, even at their absolute worst. And that more than anything else is the greatest gift you could ever give them. Take a breath, look at your child, and trust yourself. You have everything you need to guide them through the fire, and you will come out on the other side, stronger and closer than ever before.